Live from a studio apartment, this is misinformation. That it still needs to be resized. That freaking graphic. Apparently there was a Democrat representative, Sheila. This name is going to be tough to pronounce. I've never heard of her before. Representative Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick. I guess so. She's a Democrat in Florida. She's been accused of stealing $5 million in FEMA funds that were meant for disaster relief. Potentially 53 years in federal prison if these go through. So basically, I guess what happened, from what I understand from the story, I think this was back during COVID almost, like 2020, 2021. And I think the story had said her and her brother or someone in her family had like a disaster relief agency of some sort, almost like a food kitchen or something like that. And I guess they were working with the federal government with FEMA funds, and they received an overpayment of $5 million in FEMA funds. And instead of returning it, I guess they did. And they started like shuffling it, funneling it to different family members so that their family member could then pay back their campaign in what looked like just regular campaign contributions, but really it was this $5 million of misappropriated FEMA funds just being funneled back into her campaign, which is crazy. So, yeah, it's funny because, you know, have been lawfaring or attempting to lawfare the crap out of President Trump for supposedly being this criminal, this bad guy. And it's just another example of actually, you know, all who it is who's corrupt. It's the Democrats, right? There have been a couple of these stories in the news, mostly with mortgage fraud. I think there's 4 different Democrats right now who've been charged with mortgage fraud or are facing charges. Now this. I think most of the story. They worked with a tax attorney. I guess there was a tax attorney who was in on it and was helping them conceal the funds. So that's pretty crazy. 53 is a lot of prison time, if that's true. I told you it's a slow news day. That was the top story, pretty much, or in Congress, was she was to hit back at Republicans saying that Democrats had taken Jeffrey Epstein's money. So I guess she had her staffers look into Republicans, and they found payments from Jeffrey Epstein to Republicans. So she took to the floor and started accusing Republicans taking money from Jeffrey Epstein. It turns out it was a different Jeffrey Epstein. Not the same Jeffrey Epstein, which is a doctor somewhere, right, who donated to Republicans, which is in itself a bummer for that doctor, right? Imagine being Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, having to live with that. But Republicans have taken money from him. The Republicans respond and go, "You're an idiot. This is a different person." And rather than apologizing or backing down, she doubles down and basically says she was right.
She represents the Virgin Islands. She was texting with Jeffrey Epstein the day of Michael Cohen's hearing. Her questions pretty closely followed the text between the two of them to ask about Rona Graff, Trump's longtime assistant. You were defending her today, or in recent days, yesterday, and you talked about Republicans taking money from a Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what you said.
Ruh-roh.
Who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain, Palin, Rick Lazio.
You mentioned Lee Zeldin there. He's now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it was actually a Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor that doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that's who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the picture?
I never said it was that Jeffrey Epstein. Just so that people understand, when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen, because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled, and that is specifically
all part of her master plan, you see, to educate Republicans that it could have been Jeffrey Epstein, but she didn't know if it was or not. Her response is weird because she's simultaneously saying, no, actually, I was right. I knew, ambiguous because I didn't know. But then also saying that, like, somehow, when her staffers look, like, it doesn't have pictures, so she shouldn't have known somehow. It's really strange. I don't know. There's a really dumb way that some Democrats sort of double down on when they're called out on things. You know, it's a flub. It's not that big a deal.
Why I said a Jeffrey Epstein, unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies. Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to say was it was a different Jeffrey Epstein. He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein. So
It makes sense. So that was just kind of funny. I think we'll put it up here. Super slow news day. Hopefully Trump says some funny stuff tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow around 9 p.m. live streaming. Enjoy the rest of your night. Bye-bye.